Title: Beneath the Mask of Wealth. Part 1: The Man Behind the Fortune. Keynes wasn't just rich, he was unimaginably wealthy. At 34, he was the CEO of Zephyrtech, a global tech conglomerate based in Lagos, Nigeria, with branches across Europe, Asia, and America. He had it all: private jets, luxury cars, mansions that sprawled across acres of land. But despite all the wealth, Ken felt a hollow space in his heart, a longing for something real, something money couldn't buy: love. Born to humble beginnings in Enugu, Ken's parents had raised him with strong values: integrity, kindness, and a respect for simplicity. But fame and fortune had a way of attracting all the wrong kinds of attention. Every woman he met seemed to fall in love with his status, not his soul. After a disastrous engagement with a model who tried to blackmail him, Ken made a radical decision: he would live undercover as a struggling man, a regular Lagosian. No butlers, no Rolex, no black Mercedes. Just him, a modest apartment in Suralere, and a job at a local mechanic shop, one of the many businesses he secretly owned. His mission was simple: find a woman who loved him for who he truly was, not for the billions in his account. For 6 months, Ken lived as K, the quiet, hardworking man with calloused hands and oil-stained shirts. He met several women. At first, they were charming and warm, but once they realized he had no car, lived in a modest flat, and didn't offer flashy dates, their interest evaporated. One by one, they revealed their true colors. There was Angela, who ghosted him after 2 weeks because he couldn't take her to a fancy restaurant on the island. There was Mimi, who laughed in his face when she realized he didn't even have a smartphone newer than 2018. And then there was Kayameka, who seemed sincere until she accidentally discovered his real identity after snooping through his apartment and tried to blackmail him with the truth. Each failed encounter left him more disheartened than the last. Then came Rose. Part 3: A Chance Meeting. Rose worked in a small bookshop just a street away from the mechanic shop. She wasn't flashy. Her beauty was quiet, the kind that bloomed slowly. She always wore simple dresses and often had ink smudges on her fingers. Ken first noticed her while waiting for suya at a roadside stand. She was reading Chinua Achebe under the dim streetlight. Intrigued, he approached her. "You don't see many people reading Achebe these days," he said. She looked up, her eyes warm but cautious. "Maybe they should." That was it. That moment. That simple exchange. It was different. Over the next few weeks, they spoke more. At first, just hellos and small talk, then full conversations about books, dreams, family. Ken learned she lived with her younger sister and supported their sick mother back in Benue. She didn't complain. She didn't chase luxury. She was real. And most importantly, she treated Ken with dignity, not pity. Part 4: The Test of Time. They began seeing each other more. Ken took her on simple dates, walks through Freedom Park, Puff Puff and Zobo by the lagoon, and late-night conversations on his apartment's tiny balcony. She never once asked what he did for a living. When he told her he was a mechanic, she simply said, "That's honest work." Ken watched her closely. Once, he deliberately lost his wallet during a date. Rose paid without complaint and even bought him an extra snack for the way home. Another time, he left her waiting in the rain for nearly an hour because of a fake emergency. She didn't yell or storm off. Instead, she brought him ginger tea, worried he might have fallen ill. She wasn't perfect, she had her moods, her fears. But her heart, unquestionably pure. Ken found himself falling for her, hard. But fear clawed at him. What if she changed once she knew the truth? Part 5, The Reveal. It had been 7 months since they met when Ken finally invited Rose to his real home, not the Surrey apartment, but his estate in Banana Island. He had his driver pick her up in a Rolls-Royce. Rose was quiet the whole ride. When she stepped into the marble-floored mansion, her eyes widened. "Kay, what is this?" He took her hand gently. "My name is not Kay. It's Kenny's. I own Zephyrtech, and everything you've seen here. I lied to you, Rose. Not out of malice, but because I needed to know who could love me without the money." She didn't speak. She sat down slowly, her breath shaky. "I understand if you walk away," Ken said. "But before you decide, know this, everything I told you about my feelings was real." After a long silence, Rose looked up. Her eyes shimmered with unshed tears. "You lied," she said softly. "But for a good reason. And it hurts, yes, but I know your heart, Ken. And I'd still choose the man in the oil-stained shirt." Part 6, Storm Before the Calm. For the first time in years, Ken felt peace wash over him. But peace, like love, doesn't come without its battles. The next few weeks weren't a fairy tale. Rose had forgiven him, yes. But trust, once bent, takes time to straighten. She was quieter than usual, often lost in thought. Ken gave her space, though it killed him. He wanted to smother her with gifts, diamonds, trips to Dubai, designer gowns. But she asked for none of those. "I don't want to be bought, Ken," she said one night, gently returning a Cartier bracelet he'd slipped onto her wrist. "Just be honest with me. That's all I've ever needed." He nodded, swallowing his pride. This was a different kind of wealth. One he'd never known before. Their bond slowly healed. He started showing her part of his world, not to impress, but to share. His charity work. His childhood home in Enugu. The small wooden box where he kept old photos of his late parents, who died in a car crash years ago. Rose listened, not with awe, but with heart. She cried when she saw the picture of Ken as a barefoot boy beside his mother in front of a mud house. "I see him," she whispered. "He's still in you?" Part 7, A New Kind of Dream. Ken didn't propose with a diamond ring. He proposed with a paperback book. Rose had always dreamed of opening her own bookstore, one filled with African literature, a community space for young writers, and a free reading room for children. On her birthday, Ken took her to an old, dusty building in Yoba. It looked forgotten. "What is this?" she asked. Ken handed her a worn-out copy of Purple Hibiscus by Chimamanda Adichie. Inside was a small card that read, "Will you marry me, and let's build this dream together?" Tears rolled down her cheeks as she clutched the book to her chest. "Yes," she breathed. "Yes, Ken. 1,000 times, yes." He slipped a simple silver ring on her finger, not flashy, not expensive. Just pure. Just them. Part 8, The Public Revelation. The world exploded when the news broke. billionaire Ken is engaged to unknown bookshop assistant. Social media went wild. Bloggers dug into Rose's past. Paparazzi camped outside her bookshop. People called her a gold digger, a village girl, a lucky commoner. Rose handled it with grace, but it hurt. Ken saw it in her eyes, the weight of public judgment. "I didn't sign up for this," she admitted one evening. The whispers. The online insults. "It's heavy. I'll make it stop," Ken said, furious. "I'll get lawyers." "No," she interrupted. "Let them say what they want. I won't let noise define us." He pulled her close. "You are stronger than any woman I've ever known." She smiled through the tears. "I've been through worse. I grew up fetching water at 5, skipping meals so my sister could eat. This is just wind. It'll pass." And it did. Eventually, the world moved on to the next scandal. And the lovers were left in peace. Part 9, The Wedding of Souls. They didn't have a grand wedding in Dubai or a beach ceremony in the Maldives. They had a small, intimate wedding in a quiet garden in Enugu, where Ken's parents were buried. Rose wore a dress made by a local seamstress. Ken wore a simple agbada. The guest list was small, only friends, family, and a few employees who'd stood by him through thick and thin. Rose's mother, now healthier after getting proper treatment, paid for silently by Ken, gave her a small, woven purse as her wedding gift. Inside was a piece of paper with a prayer written in Tiv, her native language. "May your home be richer in love than in gold," it read. As Ken and Rose exchanged vows, there wasn't a single dry eye in the garden. "I loved you when I thought you had nothing," Rose said. "And now that I know you have everything, I still just want you." Ken, choking back emotion, replied, "You found me when I was hiding, not from the world, but from myself. You brought me home." They sealed it with a kiss, not just of love, but of quiet triumph. Part 10, Beyond the Billion. A year later, Rose's dream bookstore, Chapters of Us, opened in Yoba. Children poured in, writers gathered, and readers found solace. Ken, though still busy with his billion-dollar empire, spent weekends there reading to kids or restocking shelves. He even started a foundation that offered scholarships to girls from low-income families. They lived in both worlds, the grandeur of Banana Island and the humble truth of their love story. One evening, as they sat on their balcony watching the sunset, Rose turned to him. "If you had to do it all again, would you still pretend to be poor?" Ken laughed. "Absolutely. Even with all the insults, the heartbreak. Yes. Because in the end, I didn't find a bride." She tilted her head, curious. "No. I found a woman who reminded me of who I was before the billions. And who I want to be, for the rest of my life."